Hi and welcome to the video on EQing hi-hats and cymbals. With hi-hats, you can see that there's actually not really that much going on below about 200 Hz. So you could high-pass filter below about 200. And that'll make sure that there's nothing there adding anything or stealing any headroom. You don't really need any of that. But at the same time, getting above that, above 200 Hz, between the 200 and 300 Hz range, that can be where you get a bit of the clang or the thickness of the hi-hat. So it might be an idea to high pass below that, but maybe boost a little bit above that. Or as you can see, sometimes just by either I'm using a parametric EQ here to boost, but if I turn that off, sometimes you can just use the Q setting on the high pass filter to have that same effect by using that resonant peak to accentuate that frequency band there. So we're cutting below that and bringing forward there. But again, you may not actually need to boost in that region. You may just be okay with the high pass filter there and it may come through just fine on its own. Might be another case where cutting something else can have the same effect as boosting here. And especially when you look at all the other cymbals together. So the crash cymbal, the ride, splash, any cymbals you might have, they all tend to have a lot of energy in similar regions to the hi-hats. So we'll just have a quick look at another couple of key frequencies for the hi-hats. The 4 to 6 kilohertz range. That can be where you get a lot of those sweet overtones with the hi-hats. So maybe a gentle boost sometime could bring out a little bit of that sweetness. Again, doesn't have to be a boost, it can be a cut somewhere else. And in the 8 to 12 region, that can be where you get that sizzle or that sparkle. So you can really bring out some of that brightness up in that region. But likewise with certain hi-hats, sometimes you might find a bit of harshness up in this sort of top range here. So as is always the case with EQing, try sweeping through, finding what you like and what you don't like, cut what you don't like, maybe leave what you like alone or try boosting it a little bit gently. Again, broader strokes for the boost and sharper, that means higher Q setting for the cut. Tends to be a pretty good rule a lot of the time. So moving on to the cymbals and rides as well. So again, we've got that big clang down in the bottom here. We can probably try it on the high pass filter again up into about 2 or even 300 Hz. But you might find beyond that, around the 400 or 500 Hz region, that's where we've got that real kind of meatiness, that thickness of the ride. So it depends whether that's the sort of sound you want from your ride. A lot of the time you might actually just want those higher sort of sparklier frequencies. So as we saw with the hi-hats, maybe up here, the 8 to 12 kilohertz region, might get a little bit of that brilliance. The brightness there. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to boost there. That just means to be aware that that's where it's coming from. So you could cut something else there. And that's pretty much it. We're going to leave it there for now. There's a few key frequencies there that should hopefully help you along your way. There's plenty more to be found on the internet. And as I said, not a bad idea at all to find yourself a frequency chart that tells you the musical notes, just so you can be aware of what's going on with the drums and how it relates to the notes, chords and key of the song. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.